Mr. President, the committee this year made its first selection for a Young American Medal for Service since 1955. Chosen to receive the medal is Mary Ann Kingry, one of 3 children of Mr. and Mrs. Vincent Kingry of Saginaw, Michigan. Mary Ann was chosen for the Service Medal because of her outstanding work during 1960 on behalf of the Junior Red Cross, while she maintained an excellent academic record and participated in a variety of other activities. She served as a resource member of the Midwestern area of the American Red Cross and was chosen as one of the 2 American representatives at the Canadian Training Center of the Junior Red Cross in Ontario, Canada. Mary Ann was elected Secretary of the Midwestern Area Advisory Council of the Junior Red Cross, was appointed to the 16-member National Youth Council of the American Red Cross, and was subject of a feature article, the Journal of the American Red Cross. In other activities, she served on her high school student council, was vice president of the Saginaw Youth Council and president of the citywide Senior High Council. She was elected sophomore representative of the Sodality Club in her high school, St. Peter and Paul, won numerous school, regional, and state debates, and was honored for a mathematics project entry in the Saginaw Science Fair. Mary Ann has continued as a member of the Scholastic Honor Society throughout high school. It's an unusual award, as I said, Mr. President. It hasn't been made since 1955. A great deal of study and effort and work is done by the committee to select the proper individual, and she was found to be outstanding for her great contributions to her community, the school.
I want to express my congratulations, appreciation to the committee, the Attorney General, Mr. Hoover, Mr. Cox, Mr. Guthman, who have participated in making this study. The Vice President recently predicted that we would someday have a woman president. It might be discounted to a degree because he was speaking at a women's college, but I do want to say that it seems to me we got a promising candidate here.
Oh, thank you.
So that I want to express my great pleasure in awarding this to you, and which is very richly deserved for a whole variety of public services.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You want to say a word? Yeah.
Mr. President and Mr. Attorney General and other honored guests who were too numerous to name, I didn't prepare any remarks, but I'd only like to say that, of course, I'm thrilled, and I'm also very humbled by this award because I realize that in honoring me, you're honoring the countless thousands of other young people who are equally deserving of this award and could very well be here in my spot. There are so many people that go into helping you to win an award like this. There's your wonderful family and an organization like the American Red Cross and people back home at school, your friends. But most of all, there is an administration that would care enough about young people to bestow an award like this. And so on behalf of all of those who will read about this and all the young people who will get new encouragement from this event, I'd like to thank you so much.
I think that's very nice. Thank you.
Will she be old enough in 64?
I don't know. Rushing it a little. Go ahead.
Mr. President, the next award is to Gerald Lee Davis, who's 12 years old. Gerald comes from Ontario, Oregon. He was outside his home one day and he saw flames and smoke coming out of the upstore windows. He rushed in, saw there were flames in front of him, leaped through the flames and rescued his 2-year-old brother. He brought him down, picked him up. He was in a corner of a room. He picked him up. He brought him down out of the house. But the house was then almost enveloped in flames. His mother was outside and called the fire department. He looked around and saw that one of his brothers was still missing, a 4-year-old boy. So he went back in, through the flames once again. His mother came back and they searched the rooms, found there was one room they couldn't possibly get to, and still didn't find their brother, knew that he must be in there. So his mother pushed him up. He grabbed hold of the banister, lost all of the skin on his hand, pulled himself up over the banister, went in through the room, still through all of these flames, and brought out his 4-year-old brother, dropped his brother down to his mother's arms, and then jumped down himself. He went to the hospital, where he recovered from these being very badly burned. He was asked at the end of it why he made such an effort, and he said, I wasn't going to lose my little brother. Flames were not going to keep me away from my brother, so I went anyway.
Well, it must...
And I might say, Mr. President, he said that he didn't understand why he was being called back here, because this didn't have anything to do with it. All he wanted to do was rescue his little brother.
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, we want to I want to express our congratulations to this young man and also our pride in him. And I'm sure that the people of his community and state feel very strongly that this is the best we produce, our best national product, in a sense, which is young men like him. And I think his responsibility to his family, I think, is the most deserving of recognition, though, as he said from the beginning, his primary interest was in helping the members of his family. So we want to congratulate you, tell you that we're very proud to have you here.
Thank you very much.
The next award is to Gordon Barnard Kilner, Reed City, Michigan, Mr. President. 14 years old. He was out in a boat with a friend, Mark Seth, who was also here, Mr. President. The boat turned over, and they yelled for Mark Seth is down here, Mr. President.
Why don't you come up here?
They saw some people on the shore, yelled for help, and they couldn't be heard, so they decided to try to swim for it. Mark, who was suffered from polio, went about 100 yards, found that he couldn't go any further, and he said to his friend Gordon that he didn't think he couldn't go any further. So he started to sink, and Gordon grabbed him, pulled him. They had a slight fight. He pulled him for a little while, and then he went under again. He pulled him up again and had him grab the tail of his dog that was swimming along, and that pulled him for a little while. And then for a third time he went under. He couldn't grab his hair because he had a crew cut. But he grabbed him by the shirt and pulled him for 400 yards into the shore. Then he listened for his heart and couldn't hear anything, so he gave him mouth-to-mouth respiratory help, even though he had never done this before. Brought him back a little bit, got in a boat, rowed across to the other side to get help, and then rowed back again to show the police where to come. This was all done by this young man. Again, a very, very brave act.
Congratulate
Gordon Kilner.
He's
from Reed City, Michigan.
Tom, we want to congratulate you and you. We're glad to have you here. With so much, thanks, Mr. Hoover. With so much emphasis on our difficult problems, there's no ceremony more pleasant than to pay much-needed recognition to all our young men and women, and particularly to this young man who has been responsible for two young men being here today. So we want to congratulate him and tell him what a pleasure it is.
Thank you very much.
Committee again. Mr. Hoover coming to participate in the ceremony, the members of the Congress, Congressman Ulmer, Senator Hart, Congressman Harvey, Senator Mansfield, Ed Guthman. I think that there's no more appropriate ceremony that we could have here today. So we're glad to have them here, and we hope next year that we'll have other young boys and girls who will be encouraged by their example. So we're very glad to have them.